Have you ever heard of a king so mighty, so powerful, that he believed he was a god? A ruler who built one of the seven wonders of the ancient world, but whose pride led him to a downfall so bizarre, it sounds like something out of a myth. Today, we're diving into the incredible, true story of Nebuchadnezzar, the most famous king of Babylon. Our story begins around 605 BC. Imagine a vast empire stretching across the Middle East. At its heart lies the magnificent city of Babylon, with its towering ziggurats and legendary hanging gardens. And on the throne sits a man of immense ambition and military genius, Nebuchadnezzar II. He wasn't just born into royalty. He earned his reputation on the battlefield. As a young prince, he crushed the Egyptian army at the Battle of Carchemish, a victory that secured Babylon's dominance over the entire region. When his father died, Nebuchadnezzar rushed back to Babylon to claim the throne, and so began a reign that would last for over 40 years. Now, Nebuchadnezzar was a builder. He wasn't content with just conquering. He wanted to create a capital city that would be the envy of the world. He launched massive construction projects, strengthening the city walls to be so thick that chariots could race on top of them. He built breathtaking temples dedicated to the Babylonian gods, especially Marduk, the chief deity. And of course, there were the hanging gardens. Legend has it, he built this lush, terraced paradise for his wife, who missed the green hills of her homeland. Picture a mountain of cascading flowers and trees rising up in the middle of a desert city, a true marvel of engineering and love. But Nebuchadnezzar's ambition wasn't just in bricks and mortar. He was a conqueror, and his military campaigns were relentless. He expanded the Babylonian Empire to its greatest extent, subjugating nations and demanding tribute. One of his most famous and controversial acts was the conquest of the kingdom of Judah. In 586 BC, after a long and brutal siege, his armies broke through the walls of Jerusalem. They destroyed the city, including the sacred Temple of Solomon, and carried off thousands of its most prominent citizens into exile in Babylon. This event, known as the Babylonian captivity, is a pivotal moment in Jewish history, and it cemented Nebuchadnezzar's reputation as a ruthless and powerful monarch. Among the exiles brought to Babylon were some incredibly bright and faithful young men, including one you might have heard of, Daniel. This is where our story takes a dramatic turn. According to the book of Daniel in the Bible, Nebuchadnezzar was a man plagued by dreams. One night, he had a terrifying dream that none of his wise men, magicians, or sorcerers could interpret. Frustrated and angry, he ordered them all to be executed. But Daniel, trusting in his God, stepped forward. He not only described the king's dream without being told what it was, but he also revealed its meaning. The dream was of a giant statue with a head of gold, chest and arms of silver, belly and thighs of bronze, legs of iron, and feet of mixed iron and clay. A rock cut from a mountain by no human hand then smashed the statue to pieces, and the rock grew into a mountain that filled the whole earth. Daniel explained that the statue represented a succession of earthly kingdoms, starting with Nebuchadnezzar's own Babylonian Empire, a head of gold. But each successive kingdom would be weaker, culminating in a divided and fragile kingdom. Finally, the rock represented a divine kingdom, established by God himself, that would destroy all the others and last forever. Nebuchadnezzar was astounded. He fell on his face before Daniel and acknowledged that Daniel's God was a God of gods and a Lord of kings. For a time, it seemed the king had learned a lesson in humility. He promoted Daniel and his friends to high positions in the kingdom, but pride is a difficult weed to pull. Soon after, Nebuchadnezzar decided to build a massive golden statue of his own, perhaps a representation of himself or his kingdom's enduring power. He commanded everyone in the empire, upon hearing the sound of music, to bow down and worship the statue. Anyone who refused would be thrown into a blazing furnace. Daniel's three friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, refused. Their loyalty was to their God alone. Enraged, Nebuchadnezzar ordered the furnace to be heated 7 times hotter than usual and had the 3 men thrown in. But then something miraculous happened. The king peered into the flames and was shocked. He cried out, "Didn't we tie up 3 men and throw them into the fire?" His advisors confirmed with Ed. "Look," he said, "I see 4 men, untied, walking around in the fire, and they are unharmed. And the 4th looks like a son of the gods." He called the men out, and they emerged without a single hair singed or the smell of smoke on their clothes. Once again, Nebuchadnezzar was humbled. He issued a decree that no one should speak against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, acknowledging that no other God could save in this way. You'd think by now he would have gotten the message, right? Well, the ultimate lesson was yet to come. Sometime later, the king had another disturbing dream. He dreamed of a massive, beautiful tree that provided food and shelter for all the creatures of the earth. Then, a holy messenger came down from heaven and commanded that the tree be chopped down, leaving only the stump and roots in the ground. The messenger declared that the man the tree represented would have his mind changed from a human to an animal, and he would live in the fields with the beasts for 7 years, until he acknowledges that the Most High is sovereign over all kingdoms on earth and gives them to anyone he wishes. Again, none of the king's wise men could interpret the dream. And again, Daniel was called. With a heavy heart, Daniel explained the dream's meaning. The great tree was Nebuchadnezzar himself. Because of his towering pride, God would strip him of his kingdom and his sanity. He would be driven away from people to live like a wild animal, eating grass like an ox, for 7 years. It was a shocking and terrifying prophecy. Daniel pleaded with the king to renounce his sins and show kindness to the poor, in the hope that his prosperity might continue. For a year, nothing happened. The king continued to rule, perhaps forgetting the warning. Then one day, as he was walking on the roof of his royal palace in Babylon, he looked out over the magnificent city he had built and said to himself, "Is not this the great Babylon I have built as the royal residence, by my mighty power and for the glory of my majesty?" He was taking all the credit. He had forgotten the source of his power. The words were barely out of his mouth when a voice came from heaven, declaring that his kingdom had departed from him. And just as the dream had foretold, in that very hour, Nebuchadnezzar's mind snapped. He was driven from his palace and began to live in the wild. His hair grew long like eagle's feathers, and his nails became like the claws of a bird. The most powerful man in the world was reduced to the state of a beast, a living testament to the dangers of unchecked pride. For 7 long years, the kingdom was managed by his officials, while the king roamed the wilderness. Can you imagine the sight? The ruler of the known world, humbled in the most profound way possible. But the story doesn't end there. At the end of the 7 years, just as the prophecy said, Nebuchadnezzar's sanity returned. And what were his first thoughts? Not of revenge, not of reclaiming his power, but of humility and praise. He looked up to heaven, and his first act was to praise and honor the Most High God. He finally understood. He declared, "His dominion is an eternal dominion. His kingdom endures from generation to generation. All the peoples of the earth are regarded as nothing. He does as he pleases with the powers of heaven and the peoples of the earth. No one can hold back his hand or say to him, 'What have you done?'" At that very moment, not only did his sanity return, but his honor and splendor were restored to him as well. His advisors and nobles sought him out, and he was reestablished on his throne, becoming even greater than before. The king who thought he was a god had learned that he was just a man, subject to a power far greater than his own. Nebuchadnezzar's story concludes with his own testimony, a royal proclamation sent throughout his entire kingdom, telling everyone what had happened to him. He wanted the world to know about his pride, his fall, and his restoration. He ends his account with these words, "Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise, and exalt and glorify the King of heaven, because everything he does is right and all his ways are just. And those who walk in pride, he is able to humble. What an incredible journey! From a powerful conqueror and builder to a wild beast, and finally to a humbled and restored king. Nebuchadnezzar's story is more than just an ancient tale. It is a timeless warning about the corrupting nature of pride and a powerful message about humility and redemption. It shows that no one is beyond the reach of a second chance, and that true greatness is found not in exalting ourselves, but in acknowledging the source of our strength. Thanks for joining me on this journey back to ancient Babylon. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible tales from history. Let me know in the comments what you think about Nebuchadnezzar's transformation. See you next time.